Welcome to Masters of Max, a mobile app experience podcast. Please welcome your host, Tom Butta, Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Airship.
So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Sienne Veit to the show. Sienne is an amazing executive, particularly in the retail space, having worked at places like Kingfisher, John Lewis, Marks & Spencer, and more. So welcome to Masters of Max. Thank you for being with us.
I'm so pleased to be here, Tom.
Tell us a bit about your illustrious career and how you've carried forth and helped really important companies do important things.
My early days, I spent in customer research and market research, and then naturally gravitated into building great digital experiences. So I've built learning software for second language learners on mobile devices. I've built gaming software. And then I discovered retail. And retail is about as exciting as it gets because you're so directly connected to customers and you can kind of see the impact almost immediately of the things you build. My first experience in the UK of building customer applications was with M&S, Marks & Spencer. It's a high street brand. They sell clothing and food, and at Christmas it's the kind of place where you buy gifts and where you get all of your Christmas dinner. And I was really lucky. I joined at a time when we were able to really start experimenting and creating great experiences for their many millions of customers across the UK and in Europe. From there on, it kind of snowballed, and I built more and more customer applications, then for Morrison's, another food retailer in the UK, and then moved on to John Lewis, which is a bit like M&S. It's employee owned. It's a much loved department store. From John Lewis, I moved on to Kingfisher, and they have a whole range of really great brands. And that's what I love doing, creating things that people love to use, and specifically focusing on mobile.
Mobile's been really at the center of everything that you've been doing.
I think with mobile, and it is the most personal of devices, it's always there, it's always on. And increasingly, it's the thing we reach for in the moments that matter. It captures all of our finest moments, our best moments with our families, with our friends. And it's a key productivity tool. And because of that, it just has so many interesting ways that we can use it to make people's lives better, easier, happier, and more fulfilling. And I think that's what really excites me. It's also a massive design challenge. Designing things that customers really love to use for something that's 4.7, centimeters is hard.
Yeah. I expect that there are a lot of people that get that wrong.
I think the worst thing that people do with mobile is then they're duplicating the experience rather than seeing applications and mobile web as a different type of experience with a different use. Thinking about what a customer really wants to achieve in that moment, what their context is, and how much time they have really adds to the experience. And I think a lot of people just aren't designing for that context.
How have organizations that have had these big physical locations operationalized the linkages between all of these places in which their customers are?
I think the key thing that's happened, and this is an absolute benefit, is that applications, especially native applications, have become the glue between your channels. Your apps are the one thing that travels from the digital world into the physical world. And this is a real benefit to retailers. The key thing is about being able to join up those experiences for the customer, but more and more so, it's about joining and knowing that customer and understanding that that customer who started at home on the website has then gone into store. And we know from research that's been conducted, about 75% of people go into stores already knowing what they're going to purchase. So doing some of that kind of legwork, giving customers the support of an app to plan their purchase, to look up a location, to review in-store stock, to see the location of the stock in the store, and then take all of that information and walk into the store with it is really powerful, because that means that you've got an empowered customer who who is supported in that journey, it also frees up your store staff to have a much more engaging interaction with the customer. On the other side, you've got colleagues in stores empowered with applications who themselves can add to that experience. For the brand, what that means is they're being able to really understand that customer's journey end to end, all the way from search online into store and the interactions that they had. And I think that makes for a richer experience, and it means that you can reward and personalize the next interaction with that customer, to a much greater degree.
We're at this really important time of year where the weather turns. The holidays are about to emerge, and we suddenly have there's some of the biggest shopping days, of the entire year right before us. So how do you think about Black Friday, as it were, or even this entire time period, in terms of both driving more people to engage, but also retaining them?
I think that the best way to look at this time of year is as a series of opportunities where the first event, whichever event that is really a door to other valuable behaviors. If you get into the minds of a customer at this time of year, that first prompt is very much people who are seeking for deals. These could be customers who don't know you and don't know your brand, or they could be your own very valuable customers. And I think here it's really identifying that behavior and associating it with, first, the need to download, that the app is going to be the place where you're going to get certain types of information first, because it is going to be the most up to date. And also, if you're an omni-channel retailer, it's the place where you can plan your journey. Being able to talk about those things in the onboarding journey, about the why of the app. Why are you downloading this? What's the difference between just kind of browsing our site versus bothering to download our app, which might take you a few minutes, I think is really key. The next thing is talking about the kind of key moments that matter. So things like collection, click and collect, easy check-in, about building a wish list for all of those things and being able to manage your wish list so you can tick things off, you can share things with people, about tracking all of your orders and your deliveries, about keeping your receipts in your app. The journey after that purchase is as important. Not every single customer is going to be a weekly shopper, so unless you're a food or you're kind of a commuter business, identifying content that's going to be interesting and useful to customers and that might bring them back in, and placing that in the right parts of the experience, I think is also really important. We know that most customers will come, when they're looking for products, will come directly from search and land on a product detail page. And so your opportunity to talk about your brand is quite limited, because you don't want to interrupt their shopping journey. The best you can do at that point is be really useful and efficient, and make sure your brand is through that experience, is talking about trust, is talking about utility, is talking about how you're going to protect their data and how you're going to make sure that you can be trusted at each step. But you can follow up with some of the inspirational content, and I think this is where lots of brands aren't thinking about channels uniquely. They're taking the same message and then blasting it email, website, app, SMS. Whereas I think if you think about that app customer and how they might be different, and what messages are appropriate within your app ecosystem, and what types of messages you can use, whether those are rich messages or whether that's in-app content versus email, and what you choose to put on email versus blasting that into a notification, is just not going to be the right approach. Planning that all out way in advance of the holiday season, and testing and learning and validating, so that by the time you get to planning for Black Friday, you have a whole host of messaging types, of onboarding flows that are already pre-tested, I think is really key.
Well, Sienne, thank you very much for your time and your wisdom, and for sharing all of your experience with all of us. Thank you.